This is Hard Knox Talks.
Where'd you grow up?
I grew up in Denmark, a little place called Jystrup. It's in the middle of Zealand. And I grew up with stress, fear, and violence. My father was a drunken alcoholic, and he sold weapons to skinheads and bikers when I was a child. When I was about 12, we were in the back garden shooting beer cans with semi-automatic rifles. So that was normal at my place.
And what were your thoughts around that? Like when at that age?
Yeah, for me, I thought it was normal because I didn't know anything else. But when I started at school, I figured out real early that when I told people what we were doing at home, then they kind of looked at me in a funny way with big eyes and open mouth. So I understood that that wasn't normal for everyone.
Your dad never said hey, don't talk about this stuff?
Not at all.
Just didn't care, hey?
No, I don't think so. And also the excessive drinking and the violence. He used to hit my mom a lot and me as well. Sometimes I go in between to kind of break it up, and I just get hit instead. I never had any place where I felt safe because in school I kind of did the same thing that I was doing at home, kind of trying to disappear in the crowd. And when you do that at school, it has the opposite effect. So I got bullied a lot. So I never had any safe space or anything. But at the age of, I think it was 14, I started, one day it just snapped for me in school, and I beat up a fellow classmate real bad because he was bullying me, and I just couldn't take it anymore. And after that, nobody bullied me anymore. So in my brain back then, it was kind of like violence can solve my problems. So if I want to be alone and if I don't want people to bully me, or if they say something I don't like, I just use violence because that works for me. And because of the stress and violence at home, I kind of hang out with a crowd of like-minded people that also had problems at home, and some of them actually came from families with a lot of money and education and everything, but they had the same feeling inside that they weren't valued, and they kind of like they didn't matter. So this group that I was with kind of got bigger and bigger, and at one point, I remember that we stole some beers down the road from one of my friends, and we held a party all night with all these beers, and everybody knew where we got them from, of course. So a couple of hours in, the owner came by and said that these beers, he knew that it was his, and he would just put them back when we were finished, and he wouldn't do a big number out of it. He wouldn't call the cops or anything. And he told us that just so we know that he was a part of a motorcycle gang, a motorcycle MC, one of the big ones in Denmark at the time. And one of my friends, he just headbutted him and started beating him up because we didn't want anyone to tell us what we were supposed to do. We made up our own rules. So that kind of made a bad impression. And I remember that the days after, this guy, he had to go on the ground because a lot of people were going around asking where he was and if anybody had seen him. But what happened afterwards was that another group of bikers, they came and hung out at the bar where we used to be. And we were kind of doing our own thing. But these people, they came and they gave us free beer, free weed and other stuff. And then they wanted us to go out with them and kind of hang out and see how real men take care of business. And that came the start of us actually being there. I don't know what you call it in English, but we were looking out when they were breaking into stores and when they
like a prospect.
Yeah, yes and no. Just more like a work dog or something like that.
A lackey.
Were also lackey.
A minion.
We will have to minions. Yeah, we would have to, if they would push us through a window somewhere so we could open a door, or they have us hang out at our guy's place that owed them money and call them when he got home, stuff like that. And once I remember there was this guy, clearly an addict. He owed them a lot of money, and one of the guys, he cut 2 fingers off him and flushed him down the toilet.
And you saw this?
So I saw this, and at this time I was drinking heavily myself, and that didn't help. So that was. I've seen some bad things up until then. I've seen people get stabbed and fight, but I didn't see something like this before. So it felt unreal. It felt like a movie that I was just someone standing on the sidelines looking in. And it's hard to explain, but it seemed unreal. It took a lot of time before I actually realized what had happened. I didn't have anywhere else to go. I didn't have this recognition and being a part of something that was important to me. So I chose to stay. And it's like, I know it was bad for me, but I felt safe in some sick kind of way because the rules were similar. Like the place I grew up with my father and my family. I grew up with PTSD, and because of this environment I was used to, I kind of just piled more PTSD on myself without even knowing it. And some of the guys, they kind of look after me if I fucked up, if I did a lot, because I didn't know the rules. I was just a kid. I was about 15, 16 at the time. And that made some of the other guys a little angry because they thought that I was supposed to be like everybody else. I shouldn't have a past just because I was younger than them. So there was this tension from some of the guys in the group. And I remember there was some guys that got picked up by the police because of something they did years ago. And there were some other guys starting rumors that I was the one that talked to the police.
So are you in a club now? Is that what this is?
It was like a club, but they hadn't any patches because they nobody wanted them as members because they were too hard to control.
Oh wow!
So
you're hanging out with like the craziest of the crazy.
Yeah.
I don't know if there's better language to use around that, but
I don't think so. There was this 2 brothers in the group, and one of we all drank a lot, but one of them, when he got really drunk, he started talking to the devil, and he started wanting to start fights or even stab people. So when he started getting evil and talking to the devil, some of the guys always got a hold of his brother, and his brother just came and took him, just beat him up, beat him senseless, and they put him in a corner with a beer, and then he just sat there and bleeding, talking to himself the rest of the evening.
And this happened. This was like a regular occurrence. This was like the standard operating procedure.
That was a regular thing.
Wow.
Yeah, that was something that happened once or twice a week sometimes.
Oh, it looks like our buddy needs a good beating again. Call his brother.
Yeah.
We shouldn't
Otherwise,
laugh.
you
This
would
is
just
pretty.
stab somebody.
Yeah. Wow. Sorry to interrupt. I find some of the
No,
things.
it's okay. What can you do but laugh about it? Because it's kind of tragic, but it's like insane at the same time.
It's called
Because
survivor's humor. It's called survivor's humor.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I also remember one time there was a guy who put a gun to my head and pulled the trigger just for fun. I thought he was going to kill me, and the chamber was empty, so everybody was just laughing. And I felt like I just died. So I laughed, because what else could I do?
Yeah.
I could get angry, and then I'll get beat up as well. So, yeah, that was a harsh environment, and even more for me as a kid.
Mm-hmm.
So I kind of learned it as it progressed and got worse and worse.
Mm-hmm.
But at this time where they thought I was the guy that talked to the police, they told me we were going to a party, and they drove me out in the woods to a barn, and they duct taped me to a chair with a helmet. They put a helmet on me that also had duct tape around so I couldn't look up, and they pissed in it before I got it on. And then they keep on beating me and burning me with cigarettes for, I don't know, maybe an hour, 2 hours. I have no recollection of it, but it's around that. And I remember one time where I can feel two guys standing beside me, one on each side, and they just start hammering this helmet with baseball bats. And it's like having my head inside a bell. It's just these boom, boom all the time. And I feel every hit, I can feel this pain going down my spine. And it gets so intense at one point.
Hang on. You're glitching. Hang on.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. No, you're glitching. Did someone else come on the internet in your house? Because you just suddenly got really glitchy.
Oh, I don't think so.
Okay. Well,
is it still continuing, or?
No, it seems to be cleared up now. Let's just give it one minute here.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, you just started really glitching. I couldn't even understand what you were saying.
Okay.
Okay, I think we're back now. So go ahead. Sorry.
Where did it stop?
You were talking about being hit in the head with baseball bats.
Yeah. There was these two guys standing on both sides of me. Yeah. I could feel their presence, and they were kind of hitting me from both sides. Mm-hmm. And this pain, I could feel that it was like having my head in a bell, and this pain every time they hit going down my spine, it was so intense that I threw up inside the helmet. And the helmet was too small, so my vomit couldn't get out. So I kind of choke in my own vomit, and I pass out. And after a while, I don't know how long, I wake up on the floor. I'm no longer tied to the chair. I get the helmet off, and I'm lying in a pool of my own blood at this point. My knees are double size because of all the hits, so I'm kind of crawling to the door, and I'm falling in my own blood. And I get to the door because I can see the light under it, and the light from outside, of course. And I go there, I turn the switch on, I see where I have been laid with all the blood and all the carnage that had happened. And I get out on the road, trying to stumble down this dirt road, and at one point a car is coming, and I see the lights, I hear the doors slam, and somebody shouts my name, and I just fell over. And I don't remember anything after that. But what had happened was that these guys, my so-called friends, they were celebrating at a bar somewhere, and they kind of laughed and said that they have done. And some other guys that I know, they heard it and got some more information out of them and went looking for me, and they were the one that found me.
Wow.
So they hided me out in a apartment and tried to figure out what really happened. And it turned out that the guy that did talk to the police was one of the guys that hit me, that was at the scene.
Mm-hmm.
And afterwards, he disappeared to Thailand. That's what I heard. Some people say he got concrete boots and got in the harbor, but I don't know which one is true. But that kind of broke something inside of me. I became more introverted, more angry, more violent. At a point, I was hanging out with some skinheads from close to Copenhagen, and they were making fights with immigrants in the middle of the night. They would call each other up and choose a spot and a time. And sometimes we will meet at a football field 3:00 at night, and just with clubs, chains and knives, and just beat the shit out of each other until the sirens, we could hear the sirens in the distance. Like making a call on the phone and said, yeah, bring 50 of your guys, we bring 50 of ours, and then we settle this.
50.
And we did it. Yeah, something like that.
So
sometimes 30. But
there's 100 people on this field with bats and chains and knives going at it.
Yeah.
That sounds like warfare, man. That's like battlefield stuff.
Like Braveheart.
Yeah, kind of. Eh?
But it was because of my I was addicted to alcohol at this point, and I also got addicted to this because it gave me a rush, a dopamine rush, just standing there with all your friends and just running towards guys you hate because you don't know anything about them, but they're different and they have a different skin color. So for me, it was kind of like I hated myself, but I couldn't live with that. So it was easier just hating everybody else. I used it as an excuse for not doing stuff, because why should I? I'm a nobody. I'm not going to amount to anything. I'm just stupid. So it was like a joke or a free pass just to run around and do what the hell I wanted, acting like an idiot.
You mentioned that, like, did you become initiated?
Not in the skinhead movement, because it was too chaotic for me. I needed some more structure in my life, but I found that in the Nazi movement. There I could put my hate on something else. My enemy suddenly had a face, and I could use my life for a higher purpose. I felt that I was a part of a family, and I had something to fight for, a white Europe or white Denmark or the world even. And for me, that I needed a place where the world was black and white, because I had so much chaos inside of me and around me. So I needed some structure, and this is the place where I felt at home. Also because of the rules was similar to the gangs, was similar to the way I grew up. So I felt safe. Again, I felt safe, even though that deep inside I knew that it wasn't really me. But I got praise for doing what I was told, and I was a good little soldier. And because of that, I got praise, and I grew in the ranks, and I wanted more of that. So I did whatever I could to make sure that that they knew that I was to be trusted, and I always did what I was told. I ran the fastest, I shouted the loudest, and I hit first in every opportunity that I got. And most of all, it was because of cover up that I actually felt bad inside. I didn't want people to think that I was afraid.
Mm-hmm.
So there was kind of a facade, a mask I took on to prove to the world that I'm not this little boy that's just afraid. I'm a big, strong man, and I'll fight for my beliefs.
Yeah.
So that was something that also triggered my PTSD because of the fear of me feeling that I was a fraud, and also actually a thing that I didn't realize until afterwards were that I didn't drink as much in this period because if you drank too much, you were out. If you took drugs, you were definitely out. No drugs allowed at all. So that and at that point, I also had 3 guys that was my friends that wanted to see how it was to fix. And they did it in an apartment where one of the guys' parents were on vacation. And 2 of them died in the apartment. The third one died in the ambulance on the way to the hospital because they didn't know what they were doing and they took too much. I was addicted to violence and also working out. I have injuries, several injuries because I worked out too much, and I just lifted too many weights. At one point, I was leg press 350 kilos, and it's like my entrails were just waiting to get out.
That's like 800 pounds, isn't it?
Yeah, something like that. It's a lot.
That's a lot. Yep.
Yeah. I have had 2 operations for hernia because of it. My entrails were fighting to get out of my body because of all the pressure of the workouts. And when I was 14, I had my first intercourse with a woman that was 36. Mm-hmm. And that kind of gave me also an addiction because it was kind of like when I had intercourse the first time, even though it was rape, it's kind of, wow, this is something new. This must be love. Mm-hmm. And I wanted more of that. So it became an addiction as well. And it became a big problem for me. And it's actually something that I still struggle with sometimes today. Mm-hmm. Because of that feeling that it gave me. And I thought that because I put love and sex together, it was kind of like that when I have a girlfriend, I have to have sex with her every day. Otherwise, I don't love her, even if I don't want to. And if she doesn't want to have sex with me, then she doesn't love me anymore. So it was every day was a pressure, even if it was alcohol, sex, or relationship, or whatever. Yeah, I was. I got to be the next in command. I was the head editor of the newspaper as well, and I was actually there for 16 years.
Wow!
And at one point, I remember that there's this big event where there are Nazis from all over Europe, and everybody is looking forward to me holding this speech. They used to call me Little Goebbels because I was good at holding speeches. And after the speech, all the people are shouting my name and clapping, and some people even standing on the chairs, chanting my name. And I never felt so alone in that moment in my entire life that I did then. And I didn't know why. I know now, of course, it was because that I knew deep down inside that it wasn't me they were clapping for, that I just said what they wanted to hear. So the reason why I felt alone, I think, is because I felt like a fraud. But I didn't realize it back then. It took me a while to figure out what was actually going on.
So did you believe the things that you were saying out loud? Like, did you like, was it meaningful for you? Or was the words that you were saying just a facade, just saying it because you felt you had to?
No, I think I convinced myself that this is what I need to do to get recognition and to
Okay.
give my life a purpose. And I tried to trick myself into believing that this is actually what you believe. This is what you need to do. People only change if there's consequences to their actions. And I got a lot of consequences in a short period of time. I had two friends that stole a car from the police, and the police, they shot the car 16 times and killed both of them. I had a guy in Sweden, a young guy that got beaten up by a group of immigrants, and they almost cut off his right arm because they didn't want him to go and make the Nazi salute in their town. I had a friend in Germany that was a bouncer at a Nazi rally, and two left-wing activists, they shot him in the head. He died instantly. So I had a lot of friends that died in a short period of time, so I felt pressured, and everything was kind of spiraling out of control.
Mm-hmm.
And I also lost a few friends at that point, that some that killed themselves and some that overdosed or driving in their car in an accident or something like that. And at that point, the leader of the Nazi party, he had gotten an injury under a marsh, which he got in a fight with police, and they cracked his kneecap, and he had to get some medication for that, of course, painkillers. And I felt his mood change and his attitude towards things, and he started talking about that he wanted to retire. And for me, that was kind of wake up call for me, because looking at this guy that had been my best friend and leader for 16 years, seeing how it affected him and his surroundings, his mood, and he became an old man in a short period of time because of all the fighting and the trouble and the drama. So for me, it was kind of like, is this really what you want with your life? Now he's totally broken down, and now it's your turn. Mm-hmm. So I had to convince myself that this is not something I want. But it was hard because I didn't have anything to put instead of it. I didn't know anything. This was the only thing I was good at. I built up my whole personality around being a Nazi. Mm-hmm. So I didn't know what to do, but I started making distance between me and the party. I started being more at home, building a new kitchen at home, chicken coop, and just proving to myself and my surroundings that I actually could do other things, that I'm not necessarily this Thomas the Nazi, that I can actually be someone else if I want to.
Thomas the Nazi. Yeah, sorry, we've got a cartoon over here called Thomas the Train. It's a kids it's a kids it's a kids show.
We had that as in our country as well.
Yeah. So, what I'm wanting to unpack a little more right here, though, is like, so you started distancing yourself, and like you started doing all of these wholesome things that sound amazing to me, honestly. You know, like having chickens and different things. That sounds like a very, very different lifestyle. Like, did you have to put effort in to not go back to the violence, to not go back to the party? Because like you mentioned earlier, like you got addicted to the praise, you got addicted to the violence, you got addicted to that lifestyle, that high, fast pace. And is there any way that you can unpack that a little more so that you made that transition? Like, was it an organic transition, or did it take a lot of boundary setting with yourself?
It took a lot, and I think I didn't really realize it until afterwards because it was kind of just one big mess when it happened. At least that's how I felt it, because of all the things happening and all the changes. It was like everybody was just pushing me in a another direction. It's like I didn't have control of the stress in my brain. I couldn't focus. I couldn't hold my balance. I couldn't remember my own birthday. I couldn't remember the names of my kids even. So I was pretty stressed out.
Yeah.
And it took a while to that to pass and for me to actually do all these things.
So you mentioned kids. Now, we didn't really talk too much about that. Now, when you had kids, you were still living this life, correct?
Yeah.
So did you
I have 3 kids with 3 different women because relationship was not something I was good at either.
Were those kids involved in your lifestyle?
My oldest kid was, because my best friend, his name was also Thomas. He was also high up in the Nazi party, and we made it so that we had our daughters in the same weekends. So we would kind of hang out in the Nazi bunker and make food, watch cartoons, and do a little political work while the kids were playing. And there were swastika banners on the walls and books, and we were making books and newspapers and all kinds of stuff. So yeah, they were a part of it. I never thought about how much it actually affected my daughter at the time, because she didn't know what the symbols, and she wasn't that old when we started. When I started having her there, other girls in her class that she wasn't allowed to play with because of me, and other things that she had to deal with because of my lifestyle.
Yeah. So when you're talking about when you made that lifestyle switch, is this where the drinking also stopped?
Yeah, not quite at the beginning, because I got the pension because of PTSD, and because of that, and because of me kind of making distance to the Nazi party, they started mistrusting me. And when the time came to have to choose a new leader, because of my pension, because of PTSD, because it is psychological illness, then they didn't want a leader with a psychological issue, because it would look bad for the whole party.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And because of that, they chose someone else. And that guy was a paranoid schizophrenic, I think. And in the process, I actually, trying to make him look bad, I actually made myself look worse. So without knowing it, I actually pushed myself further away.
Yeah.
I'm glad I did today, of course, but back then I didn't realize that was actually what I was doing. One day we were sitting at the office making newspapers, and me and my friend, we're talking about all these new changes he wants to do. And then I called the old leader, says to him everything that's going on, and I'm saying we are a lot of guys that are doesn't think that this is right, and he's doing a very poor job. And after we talked a bit, he said, "Okay, I'll think about it and I'll get back to you." So I leave right after the call. About 10, 15 minutes later, 10 guys with bats and hoods come in the studio and beat up my friends and want to know what the hell we are doing and where I'm at. They think we are planning a coup. I meet up with my father afterwards, and he hands me a loaded gun and a bulletproof vest. And then I go underground for about 3 months. And at this time, I'm still drinking. And at this point, there are a guy I know in Germany. He goes out of a German Nazi party that he had helped start way back. And they found him 2 weeks later in the ditch, beaten to death outside of Berlin. At one point, I can hardly sleep, so I make the decision to actually call up the new leader. And after yelling at me about 10 or 15 minutes on the phone, we make a deal. And he says that, okay, you can leave, but you can't go out and say anything the next year, because it would look bad for him that the next in command leaves the party 3 months after he's elected. So I used to say that his ego kind of saves my ass. And at that point, I know that they're not going to do anything, because then everybody's going to know what happened. So I feel safe, and I actually feel like a load has been lifted from me. And I started getting curious instead of being afraid. So as at this point, I eat my first kebab. I haven't tasted it before this time. I talk to immigrants. I actually get my hair cut first time from an Arab barber, and he even gets to shave me as well with a knife.
So you had to trust him you had to trust him shaving your neck with a straight razor.
Actually, yes, and that was scary, I tell you.
Yeah, I bet.
But I also went to a gay bar just to talk to them and figure out what I was afraid of. And it was very curious that I found out that if you're actually brave enough to ask questions, you find out that there's nothing to be afraid of. They're just like me. They just have a different sexual preference. So it was like I also got addicted to this kind of finding out a new world. For me, it was a whole new world. Wow. Everything was different. Everything was not how I thought it was.
Yeah.
So that gave me a high as well.
Yeah. So
kind of this dopamine rush. Yeah.
So tell me then, so when did you quit drinking? Do you remember your sober date?
Yeah, I remember my sober date. I have it on my vest. It's November 15, 2011.
So let's take a quick break here, and then we're going to come back and we're going to talk about that day, the day you made the decision. Wellness News, Choice for Healthy Living, is a local resource that works to connect people to health and wellness-related products, services, and expert advice from industry professionals, locally allowing us to connect and engage. Check out wellnessnews.ca or skwellnesshub.ca today to learn more. If you'd like to see our content uncensored, we are now offering channel memberships. There is a lot of things we can't show you without getting restricted, so if you want the full conversation, or to check out our merch, or if you want to show us some love and buy us a coffee, all of those links are in the show notes below. So tell me about the day you decided to get sober. What was it that tipped you over the edge into recovery?
It was actually because of all these things that were happening, this whole new life that showed me a different way to live. But after a while, I kind of figured that if I'm not this Thomas the Nazi anymore, who am I? because my whole personality was built up by this National Socialist facade, this person that got all the praise, and I couldn't cope with that. So I didn't know who I was. I didn't know what to do with myself. I had no friends, no family. So for me, I actually tried to unalive myself. And luckily it didn't pan out. I ate a lot of pills and woke up the next morning, peed myself, and a big headache I never felt before. But nothing else happened. So I actually went to my neighbor's house at 3:00 at night. And I spoke to him a couple of times before. I didn't know him that well, but I knew that he had told me that he was a therapist at a rehab center. And we talked a little about life, and he said some things that I didn't understand at the moment. But after I tried to take my own life, I remember some of the things he said, and it kind of resonated with me. So I knew that he was the guy I needed to go to get through this. We had a good talk, and he called one of his friends and took me to not an AA meeting, but Adult Children of Alcoholics, ACA. It was like a whole new world for me. It was kind of like I figured that I wasn't alone anymore, and there was actually something I could do about it. I didn't have to go around feeling bad and sad for myself. There was a program that I could do. I could go to these meetings. And I remember the first meeting, there was this round where we had to tell everybody how we felt. And I didn't know, because no one ever asked me that question before. I was, I don't know, 35 maybe at the time, and I didn't know. So it took me over a year, almost 2 years, before I could actually put words on how I felt, just by listening to other people putting words and thoughts and feelings about how they felt in their lives. And I could kind of piece my own life together. Oh, if that happens, he's sad, and then he's mad, and this is how I feel in this situation. So it's kind of like me just putting puzzle pieces together, trying to figure out who I was and what I liked, what I disliked, how to interact with other people without, even in bad situations, how to interact with people without letting it go into violence. And this was the time where I actually, my addiction switched to recovery. So I got addicted to recovery. So I went to meetings several times a week. I wrote books. I went to lectures, and I was kind of obsessed of getting better. And that was the time that I decided that I also have to give up alcohol, because that's something that's not good for me.
Was that easy for you?
Yeah,
Like,
it was easy because
compared to the other things.
It was easy because I didn't realize I had an addicted personality. So I just switched the addiction to something else. So I never saw myself as an alcoholic, but I've been addicted to everything. So I have to be careful with everything that gives me dopamine or gives me some kind of joy. Even when I was drinking really much, I remember my girlfriend at the time, she used to make fun of me when I was watching a movie. She would go past the television naked, and I wouldn't even see her because I was just paralyzed. I was inside the movie. Being in a relationship and just getting married, not having sex is not really an option. So that's also something I have to be careful of, that I'm having sex for the right reasons, and making sure that it's not gonna switch over to being an addiction. Same with sex and internet porn and stuff like that. Yeah, one of the things that kind of resonated with me and kind of made me realize that I had a lot of work to do was I heard a woman about 60 something years old, and she's been clean for 35, 40 years maybe. And she said at this lecture, she said that it took her one day to stop drinking, but it took her 20 years to stop acting like an alcoholic. And that kind of resonated with me a lot. And not to throw anyone under the bus, but it's easy to go to meetings and say all the right things and know the books by heart, but if you don't live it, I felt too close to the bottle if I didn't live it. So I had to make a lot of changes, and after listening to her and kind of realized that's also something, my environment. I had to get rid of most of my family because they weren't good for me. And that was just one step in the wrong direction, and I could be back in addiction if I had these people around me. And I didn't want to take that chance. So when I realized that this is what I have to do, it was kind of easy, because that also made me realize how much stress and how much worry it gave me to be around these people. And blood is not thicker than water in my world, not anymore after all that I've been through. So for me, it was paramount. I need to get rid of this, because I seen a lot of addicts that also in my position as a former biker and been in gangs, and they go to rehab, maybe as a prospect, and they get clean, and then a couple of years later they come back, they're full patch, and they're still struggling because now they relapsed. So if you are in an environment where there's a lot of drugs and alcohol, it's easy to fall back into your old ways. If you want to stop drinking, you can't sit at a bar 8 hours a day. It doesn't work like that. So you have to move your ass, and you have to get away from what made you drink in the first place. And for me, that was my family, and I had to let them go. At a later point, I realized that I actually had to take contact to my mother again and make peace, because I saw that the way I saw my mother, it affected the way I treated other women. So I realized at one point that if I want to have a healthy relationship to a woman, I need to forgive my mother. So I had to take contact and try to have some kind of relationship. And she actually died a year ago, I believe, at this point. And I made peace with her. She never admitted anything. And for me, I called her mother because I knew that would make her happy, but I never felt that she was my mother because of all the things that happened when we were younger. But I realized by looking into her story as well that there's a reason why she was like she was, and she also had trauma, and she was abused as a kid by her stepdad, and she also grew up at a bar where she met my father, and her fate was sealed at that point. So I was able to forgive her and move on and actually have a healthy relationship to the opposite sex, and that was very important for me. And I'm very grateful that was something that I was able to see, because I have a lot of flaws. But if I can't see them, if nobody points them out for me, then I can't change them. I have to acknowledge it because before I can change the problem. So that's something I'm really grateful for, that I have people around me that are willing and love me enough that they tell me when I do bad shit and when it's not okay.
So what about your dad? When you cut ties with your father, was there any conversation there? Was there any level of understanding, or did you just stop talking to him?
I stopped talking, but I also it was a problematic time because he was living with me for the longest time, and when he got too old to fire up in the winter, because we only have firewood here for heating, then he went to the retirement home, and we actually got together a good connection together. And he acknowledged a lot of the things I've been through. He never said the words "I'm sorry," but he did it in his way. Kind of like when I was visiting him, and we were sitting watching television, and he said, "Thomas, do you remember the time that this and this happened?" I said, "Yeah, I remember." "Yeah, that wasn't so good, was it?" I said, "No, it wasn't that. It wasn't very good." So he acknowledged it in his own way.
Mm-hmm.
And when he died, I actually found a whole folder with newspaper clippings from me, from all the times I was in the newspaper, all the way back from when I was a Nazi, but also afterwards when I got out. I hold over 300 lectures, and I written 3 books. And he had all the newspaper clippings for everything that happened afterwards. I think that he was proud of me, but he never told me.
Maybe he told you in his own way.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So tell me about the cut you're wearing.
This is a club that I started 11 years ago. And it is Corsa Nation. Corsa stands for Knights of St. Anthony. St. Anthony is patron saint of lost souls. And our members are former addicts, former gang members, and soldiers with PTSD. And at this time, we are Europe's largest clean and sober motorcycle fellowship, with chapters in Norway, Denmark, Sweden, Holland, Germany, and Poland. And we are starting up in 3 different countries at this time, 3 other countries. So we are growing. And it's a spiritual fellowship. When we hold meetings, we also have 3 texts that we read up. The letter to newcomers, that's the letter to prospect, and then there's the introduction. That's
you
what
call
the
your
club
newcomers
is about.
prospects.
And then, yeah,
that's awesome. I mean, I think that's awesome. I hope that's awesome.
I hope so too.
Yeah.
Rabina, the third text is the traditions, like you have in the 12-step programs, but in ours, it's what we do when we are together. So we have, every time we meet, we have a run in a different country. We do it exactly the same in every country. So the members feel safe and know exactly what's going to happen, even though when we go to Poland, we don't understand shit of what they're saying, but we know the text, and luckily more than half of them knows English. But it's also a safe space for us, because we know everything is going to be the same way as when we are home. And we are over 100 members now. And we have less than 1 relapse a year, and we have no former members that has gone back to their old environment. So I think that's a success in itself.
Where can people find you?
They can find me on The Sensitive Biker on social media, or my personal profile, Thomas Goofy Vestergaard, and of course Causation MF, which is the Motorcycle Fellowship. I also wrote 3 books, but they're not translated into English yet, so you have to wait a little on that one.
Or what language are they in?
They're in Danish.
In Danish. Okay, well, if you're speaking Danish, you're probably not watching this, but for whatever, if you can. So we'll put your links in the show notes, Thomas, and people can reach out to you and learn more about you and hopefully get involved in your cause and all of the good things. Thank you for joining me today, Thomas. It was a pleasure having you. I know we had some bumps in the road getting to finally meeting and getting it done, so I'm glad that we persevered. And I'm looking forward to sharing your story with my community. And I suppose that's it for now. Take good care, my friend.
You too. Thank you so much. Thanks for having me.
Hold up. If this hit home or made you think, help us get these stories out there. Smash that like button, drop a comment, and before you go, check out another episode. The more you engage, the more the algorithm shares these voices with the people who need to hear them. Big shout out to SEIU West, our official equipment sponsor, improving the lives of working people and their families and leading the way to a more just and humane society. Find their link in the show notes.
Say, this is Hard Knocks Talks.